everybody. Welcome to the Shut Up and Do It podcast, the place you can come hang out with us while we go through all things real estate with a focus on bringing you top quality topics and speakers, all who believe in get it done manner. Nick Aalerud here, as always, created the complete deal flow system and a principal with AA Real Estate Group, function as an educator and an active buyer in the Boston area and beyond. Folks, wow. Our guest today is someone that has been one of the top 6 people I've wanted on the podcast. Maybe not top 5, but top 6 for sure. I'm going to let him tell the story, but started off as a rugby player, kind of moved forward into, he kind of owned the short sale space for a really, really long time. And he's now one of the moderators and leaders of the top mastermind in the entire country that I'm proud to be a part of. And he's an incredible, of course, also a fighter. We'll mention that. I'm sure he'll mention that. And now he's a top mindset resetter and character builder and showing people how to become better people every day. Patrick Precourt, I am so thrilled you're on the podcast today, brother.
Dude, and I'm really excited to be here too, Nick. You know, it's been, our relationship's kind of been like almost like a full circle, right? From where we first became aware of each other to where we are now as peers, right? Side by side, which is so cool, dude, right?
I'm humbled that you can say that. Thank you. That,
it's 100% true, so excited to be here and, really excited to share in any way that we can, as long as we get to go deep today, I know your listeners know this too. It's sometimes it's just not fun getting on a podcast that you're all amped up for, and it just stays at the surface level, right? So let's make a commitment that we dive deep. Even if we only go a few subjects, but let's go in deep and let's touch some nerves today, brother.
Touch some nerves. All right. Let's see if I think I'm ready for that. We'll give it a shot. Hey, Pat, why don't you start by, telling people brief history of you, the story of Pat, where you came from, challenges you faced, that sort of thing.
Sure. And I'll try to do it quickly. Otherwise we'll be here just all day, right? So we'll go all the way back to college, right? I'm not a college graduate. I'm your classic college dropout that left school the 0.5 cumulative average. That's a D- for anybody who's keeping score, which is extremely difficult to get without failing. Okay, I just want you to know. All right, that's very, very difficult to get, but I crushed it, right? And truth is, I spent 4 years in college, but I just used it as residency. I made rugby, the sport of rugby, my love and my focus. And I had a framing company during college that I used to pay my bills, right? So it was time to move out of that place of residency. I moved on, and then the intent was to go as hard and heavy as I could in my rugby career. And I was quickly met with a setback. I blew out my right ACL right as I just got an opportunity to play on a very desirable team, right? And that pushed me into the space of kind of survival mode, which I'm sure everybody listening to this call knows what that's like. Now, here's the funny thing about it, man. Didn't have insurance at the time, right? Couldn't afford to have my leg fixed, but I couldn't afford not to work either, right? So this is in the early 90s, right? And then I think it was 1990, if I remember correctly. The surgeries back then put you in a straight cast for 8 weeks, right? You couldn't bend it. That's how it was done back then, which meant I had to deal with that. And my only skill set really known is carpentry, construction, right? I found myself, no kidding, going door to door, knocking on doors on crutches, selling home remodeling jobs, putting together a team and remodeling houses to pay bills so that I could save a little money, so that I could fix my knee and kind of get back in the swing of things again. That's where it's all started,
Oh, man, at least they probably gave you a little bit of sympathy votes when you're at their door with the crutches, huh?
Yeah, or like, how are you going to do that job, right? Yeah, there's that part of it too, So I got through that period of time, right? And then as a career in rugby went further along, I moved out of the hands-on construction, got into a family business, home inspection business, which was really awesome because it provided the flexibility for me to travel. And ultimately, towards the end of my career, I got to play internationally for a while, and that provided a lot of opportunities to play overseas, all over Europe and New Zealand and places like that. It's super cool, right? It's in that period of time that I got introduced to real estate investment. I started doing home inspections for investors, right? And created some relationships. And this is it's funny how coincidence works, right? My wife and I we had a 2-family house that we lived in. And we lived upstairs and rented out downstairs. And one day somebody came around door to door selling magazine subscriptions. That's how they used to use them as fundraisers. They don't really do that so much anymore, right? And I didn't really need a newspaper subscription. And this may have been Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, or I don't even know, right? But I picked one just randomly, not even thinking anything of it. It's called Creative Real Estate Investment Magazine. And the author was A.D. Kessler. A.D. Kessler. You could look this dude up. And everybody says, oh, grandfather of real estate investment, creative real estate investment. This is the grandfather of creative real estate investment. He was I don't know if he was maybe a World War II vet, maybe Vietnam. I don't remember. Paraplegic, came out as stuck to a wheelchair and built an empire in real estate through creative investment strategies. That, he came out, he did not have any money, no resources available to him, but was an amazingly resourceful human being, even without the use of his legs, now confined to a wheelchair. And if you read his story, it's amazing what he did. And that just fired me up, dude, right? So then some of it I could relate to, in that I had no money either, or resources. And I got interested in the lease option side of the business, and tied onto this guy who helped educate us in lease options and gave me just enough to be dangerous and go for it, right? Our first lease option, his name was Claude Diamond, and he's still in the business, I believe, today. Our very first lease option, we knew nothing about anything. Therefore, it was even difficult to sound stupid. We knew so little, right? It was mind-boggling. You'll like this. I never told you this part. So we set up a lease option, and the whole idea was you profit at the beginning, you profit at the middle, you profit at the end. That's the typical sandwich lease option. Instead, friends of ours who we went to school up at UConn, that are still some of our great best friends, and they still live in this house today, we're looking for a house. So long story short, I took my sandwich lease option and for $5,000 sold it to them. So effectively, I wholesaled a lease option transaction. Had no idea what that, I didn't call it a wholesale deal. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just gave it to him for $5,000, right? And that was the first $5,000 we made in this space. And just so the rest of the story makes sense, it wasn't that too far thereafter that we got it. We were buying our first fix and flip. In that transaction, we showed up at the closing table, and this is before they had, HUD docs. This is, we used to do it on net sheets. Transaction was shy, a little over $4,000. And nobody knew what to do. So one of the closing attorneys called up the bank, and within an hour had an approval to take less than what was owed. So officially, it was a short sale, done within 60 minutes. I kid you not. They talked to customer service. There was no such thing as short sale packages, loss mitigation departments. There was no governing politics involved or legislation or anything. It was just, you want to take less? Yes or no? Oh, yes. Cool. Can we sign these docs and get it done? Boom. It was literally that easy. Crazy, right?
That was, I know you're only 29 years old, but what was that? What year could that have been?
So that's early. No, that's got to be in the 97, 8, 9, somewhere in that.
Oh, okay. So right. What? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, and then as that turned me on to short sales, and we'd gone on to do hundreds and hundreds of them till we kind of, backed out of that, maybe in a 2011 range, where we kind of didn't make it our focus anymore in the real estate investment space, right? Now, along that journey, right, we did get involved in the education side. We started teaching short sales. This is like in 2004 or 5. We're actually doing seminars exclusive in the short sales space, which is super cool. And at the time, this may sound weird to people who are newer to the industry, but you're still teaching people what short sale meant, right? Because the word didn't have a definition in common language yet. As far as, even realtors didn't understand what it meant, never mind that it was, doable, right? So a lot of the education was still at that level, never mind showing you exactly how to do it. And as you know, being so deep in short sales yourself, things changed very quickly, as we got past the 2006, 7, 8 space, as legislation changed and banks changed, and banks did really dumb things, got in trouble, and that changed the whole space completely, right? We've gotten through a few hundred of them by the time we decided it was, time to move on to something a little different, So we go from teaching short sales into broadening that into a larger education platform where we taught all aspects of real estate investment, right? On a national level, not so small like we were doing it before. And it's in that, and then I'm explaining the whole story here, Nick, for one reason. Sometimes we do things in life where in the moment we have no idea why we're doing it. And sometimes we lose a sense of does it even make sense because you have no connection to something anymore, right? And then I can share this idea with you that there's nothing I've done in the past that has not been a requirement now to become who I've become. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And there are some things I've done that I'm like, man, am I just on the wrong path? I don't see how this is working for me anymore, right? That educational space, which I'm still in the education space as well, right? Just in a different facet of it. But we taught real estate investors all aspects of real estate. Through that journey, I realized, and here's the thing, I wouldn't have gotten to this point without going through all this real estate training. I realized that people do not become successful in life based on what they know or knowing how to do it. There's another missing element. And I found that to be true because we service thousands of real estate investors, and only a tiny percentage of them would reach true success. Now, my barometer, right, for success in that context is, did they make back their investment in 6 months? So I just kept it simple. That's not the definition of success, right? But in the context of education, as I was applying it, that was my definition. And a tiny percentage of people achieve that success. But I'm like, well, how is it when the content was fantastic, right? The context by which it was delivered was fantastic. No matter what we changed, it didn't change the output. And that's what got me into the space of personal development, human behavior, right? And what it actually takes to create change in an adult, right? How many people do you know, including you and I, right, have set out to do something that we know is good for us? We know exactly what to do and how to do it. We want the result, and we still don't do it. And you can't even, like, why, right? And my focus for the past, particularly in the past 4 years, right, in peak performance and human behavior and the neuroscience side of it that applies to it, has been exclusively in this space of how do we alter human behavior, right? The discussion can go in a million different directions, and often does, but I'll tell you, at the end of the day, and if your listeners were going to write down nothing else, right, this would be that one thing, right?
Here we go, guys.
One key, and only one key, that becomes the gateway to all of this that we're talking about, the answers that we'd like to know here, right? If you said, well, Pat, man, I want to lose weight. I'm willing to work out. I know it'll be good for me. I know I'll be a better father, a better mother, a better parent, a better teammate, a better partner. I know I'll enjoy my life better. I know I'll be more mindful and more calm and less stressed. I know all that stuff, but I can't seem to do it. What's the thing, right? What's the key? And I'll say this, and we'll just let it sit for a second, right? The only thing that stops us from doing any of that, right, is the way we see ourselves, call our self-image. That's it. We cannot outperform who we think we are, the identity that we've created for ourselves. I do this exercise, Nick, with people. So we have 70 people in a room, right? And we break everybody into groups of 10. Right. And I call it a life raft exercise. And the idea of the life raft exercise is each group's on a boat, right? Boat's floating along, boat hits an iceberg, it's about to sink. If you have 10 people on a raft, that means we have 5 minutes, right? 30 seconds each to sell yourself to the rest of the remaining people on your raft that are sinking on the boat as to why you should jump on the raft, because there's only spots for 9. Yet there's 10 of you. And at the end of this exercise, you got to vote one person off, right? So far, so good. And then what I do is I go around and I give everybody a label. You're a politician. You're a policeman. You're a beautician. You own a brothel. And I go around the whole table, right? Without exception, immediately they default to the confines at that title, that label, brackets them within, and they start selling people as to why they should stay based on their profession. And that's exactly how our mind thinks in real life every single day, right? We have different hats that we put on, different ways we define ourselves. When we have dad hat, we can only work within the confines of what we think a dad can and should do. When we're an investor, right, a business owner, we have those limitations. And until we can broaden the expectations we have of ourselves, we can never create change in our lives. Think about this. The way we experience life every single day is nothing more than an expression of the habits that we've created. Okay? We just repeat. 95% of the decisions you and I make every single day are made out of the subconscious. We're just repeating our habits. That's all we do. 5% are done on the conscious side, most of which is done in critical thinking, right? Things that we actually got to think about. You'd agree there's shit you got to think about each day, right? Put a little thought into. So when it comes time to create change, what we default to doing is let's work with the 5%. Because that's all that we know to work with. And out of that 5%, like I said, a good portion of it is already spent in critical thinking each day. So we may only have 1% to work with. And now we think somehow we're going to create this massive change in our lives with a tiny little percentage of brain power to support the change. Impossible. If you don't believe me saying it's impossible, just look at our track record, right? It's got to be addressed differently. Think about this. If our habits are the way we express our lives every day, which is true, that then means that our habits are an expression of our personal reality, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our personal reality is an exact replication of our personality. So our personality becomes how we express ourselves, and how we express ourselves creates our personality, which means that if we are able to change either one of those, we can start creating change in our lives. Now let's start getting a little deeper. Okay, we said we're going to go deep. We said we're going to stay at this surface level stuff, right?
Oh yeah, we're here, brother. This is good.
Stay with me on this. Okay. You say, well, Pat, what about this habit stuff? What really is a habit? A habit is a memory, man. It's all it is. It's something we've repeated over time and memorized. How do we memorize? We memorize through emotion. Motion is nothing more than a chemical concoction our body produces when we feel an emotion, and it's the memory of the chemical production and how it makes us feel that we actually remember. And we become addicted to that chemical production, no different than taking an external chemical. This is why people can become addicted to misery, because of the rush it gives their body when they go back and revisit something they've experienced in their past life. They can go and think their way into feeling it. When they feel it, that same rush of chemicals is dumped into their body, they get their fix for the moment. And people will become addicted to feeling bad. In the same way you can become addicted to feeling good, which is kind of cool. So you say, okay, good. Let's stop it going deeper for a second, because really the part that matters is how do you change it, right? Because we can go down this path all day about the neuroscience of it, but what's more important is how do we actually create change in our lives? One of the things, Nick, that I'd say lowers the expectation that we have of ourselves on a regular basis, right, is our failure to follow through with our commitments to ourselves.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree with that one. 100%.
Watch how this plays out, because this ends up in the sad bucket, right? As children, much more than we do as adults, we used to daydream, right? About who we're going to be as an adult and what that life would look like, right? Maybe even the island we live on, or the boat we're going to live on, and a fantasy wife or husband, and all. But we used to daydream. We used to have big dreams. What allowed us to daydream is that we believed there was a part of us that could achieve that. Because why wouldn't we believe that? We had no reason not to believe in ourselves. What happens as we grow up, right? And many of us are fantastic at keeping commitments to others and brutally ruthless at breaking them to ourselves, right? What happens is each time we set a new goal, a New Year's resolution, make even a small promise to ourselves, and we drop it, right? We lose faith in our own commitment to ourselves. And collectively over time, we lose faith in our ability to achieve our own goals, our own results, our own dreams. And you know what then happens? It becomes painful to daydream. And the second we go there, we shut it down. And we don't know why, but it's because we don't believe in it anymore. Instead, we'll go get busy doing something else as to distract that pain from happening. You follow me on all this?
Following you, yeah.
And and I know this stuff isn't always fun to talk about for people, right? But it's our reality, right? Yeah. Instead, we go through and we go get busy, and this is how we'll get ourselves out of it sometimes, right? Because it's not a good feeling. In a very simple, easy way, we'll go order a new book on Amazon. The act of ordering a book gives us a little dopamine rush. We feel like we did something. Well, we're doing it different today. We're ordering this new book that Nick just told me about. We feel good in the moment, right? But we don't do anything different past that. We didn't read the last book, right? We felt good in the moment. That was just enough to make that pain go away. And really, that's all we want. A book shows up, like, cool, new book. Might read the foreword, might even read the introduction. Rarely does it go past that, right? And then we let it sit till this builds back up. Might even go join a gym, right? And this is, so we own a gym, a fitness center, a fighting center. And I have this conversation with people when they come through the door. If I don't have it, one of our staff will be, so why are you here, Nick? Why are you here? Oh, I don't lose 25 pounds. Well, that's cute, Nick. You don't need us for that. All you have to do is go online. In about 10 minutes, you'll have an entire program, body weight workout and diet done for you. You do it in your bedroom before you even get up and go to work, man. Why are you here, Nick?
I love that. Yep.
Right? Yeah. Why are you here? And I know why they're there in the moment, right? They're there in the moment because the act of joining the gym is going to make them feel good, right? But they haven't done any work. But I'm pushing them through the reality of this. I tell them, Nick, joining the gym doesn't mean shit, because if that's all you want to do, there's a cheaper gym down the road. We're not cheap. We're result centric, but we're not cheap, right? Joining isn't going to do squat for you. And quite honestly, I'm not interested in you joining our gym if you're not going to get results. And we start bringing them down that path. But now what we get them excited about, right, is we've taken their focus off of joining a gym and put it on the hard work. Make that the goal, not the joining of the gym. Does that all make sense what I'm saying to you?
It does. We say fall in love with the process, right? Fall in love with that process. As long as you're there for the pain and all that it goes through and the learning, then you're in for the success. We say that towards the end, but not relatable to. I love these questions that you're pushing your guys through. I love it.
Yeah, and it brings up and this I love guru mantras just so I can tell them how stupid they are sometimes, right? So so there's and this isn't stupid, but it's got to be taken in context. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? And at first that seems to make a little sense to us, right? Until you realize that it's less important how well you perform and much more important that you showed up in the first place, right? And you're better off being the guy that shows up and that day is a shitty performance, but you've become that new identity of the guy that shows up. That matters. If you had a bad workout that day, whatever. You get back at it tomorrow, but you showed up, right? That is so much more important than how good the workout was in the moment, or how good you showed up, in our place of business or whatever. Maybe showing up is a part that freaking counts. And that's what's so, like, when you get hung up in those mantras, it's easy to let go of that. You say, man, I know it's how you do anything, it's how you do everything. And there's no way I'm going to do a good job today. So I'm better off staying home, right? You'll drop the ball again, right?
Yeah. Would you agree that it's those times when you're like, you don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to, sit, well, we're getting deep. You don't want to try to make up with that relationship you need to, or you don't want to send out that direct mail campaign. That's the point where you absolutely have to crush it. And if you don't, that's when you've let yourself down. Would you agree?
You have to go through the exercise. There is no failure outside of quitting, right? And I'll give you're 100% correct. You should talk about that direct mail campaign. It ain't ready. It ain't perfect. It doesn't look good. You screwed it. Just send the damn thing, right? Let's be honest. out of the 100 pieces of mail you send, 99 go right to the garbage anyways. So you're stressing out of one piece of mail, right? Let's just be honest here. Now let's break down this whole direct mail thing, the science and the art and all that kind of bullshit behind it. At the end of the day, if your mail shows up with a message that you're interested in buying their house at the exact same time they're in a dire need to sell their house, I don't care how good or bad it is, they're going to call you. That's how it works, right? Period. If they don't want to sell at that moment, I don't care how good this is, it ain't going to make a difference, right? And if they want to sell, no matter how bad it is, they're calling you. So stop with that. Be the person that shows up, right? Because that's the part that makes the difference, right?
Just to take a pause too. I mean, again, been waiting for this moment for so long, because the whole reason we call this the Shut Up and Do It podcast is for that reason. You show up, especially when it's hard. And most of my listeners already know, I've been openly sharing my stories of, terrible, blame it on whatever you want to blame it on, right? Bad partnerships out of state, bad losing tons of money, SEC investigations in Boston, right? Like being a witness to all that stuff. At the end of the day, it was me. And like you mentioned before, if I hadn't gone through any of that stuff, I would not be here with you right now today. Where I am right now is because of those things. And yes, I felt like a victim for a month or a half or two, because that's just sort of the process. And when you learn to own it, and this is exactly what you're teaching people, right? Like the Shut Up and Do It podcast is Pat Precourt. Sorry. I'm into it. Saying I didn't mean to take you off it, but showing up.
You're perfect, because you bring up the victim role, right? And I get it. You know what? We've all played the victim role, no doubt, right? But I can tell you it's a losing role, right? You will always fail as a victim. The reason being is you give up complete control of your outcome. So I like to share the idea. It's how I live my life. And you can choose or choose not on this, right? But I tell you, it works very well, is to accept the idea that you have in your life, me, you, we all have in our lives, everything to the exact degree that we deserve it at the moment. Whether it be our relationships, whether it be our health and fitness, the amount of money in our bank account, our partners, whatever it may be. We have exactly what we deserve at this moment in time, right? Based on all the collective decisions we've made in our lives leading up to now. The cool thing about that is if there's something that you don't like that you want to change, you're in 100% control to do that as well. You can do something about it simply by making different decisions. That's all it takes. Nothing more than that, right? And this whole idea of like, do what you love and love what you do. And that's great in like fantasy land world, right? Our world doesn't work like that. I mean, and I think that sometimes people get discouraged because like, man, I hate doing this stuff. No, stop. Time out. Can I give you as like a neat little trick, right? This just adds clarity to this whole thing right here. Right?
Yeah.
Because no doubt, there's a lot of stuff I do on a daily basis that I love. And there's a lot of stuff I do on a daily basis that I can't stand. And I still got to do it, right? But I never lose sight of why I'm doing it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to enjoy it. But it's got to fit into the puzzle in some way, shape, or form, right? And that's why I call this the three amigos, right? And always having in front of me my three amigos, which is my vision, purpose, and mission. Vision, purpose, and mission, right? But let me define those because I know that means something different to everybody, right? Vision is very simple. And you have this for your personal life and you have this for your business life. And your business life is there to serve your personal life. There's no balance between the two. There's no intersecting or not intersecting. They are closely woven together. So this whole, you got to separate business and personal, it doesn't work that way. Our business is us. It's our soul. It's our blood. They're like this, right? So it's got to be created to serve who we're meant to be in our personal life. And the idea of trying to separating them is like, why would you cut your head off your body? That wouldn't make any sense, right? And trying to peel your business away from who you are is impossible to do. So let's kick that thing aside too, right? Start with for yourself, vision, mission, purpose. A vision is where you're going. Picture a vision as a giant lighthouse, right? Out on the ocean. It's always there, never moving, rock solid, tall, strong, powerful, bright light. Whenever you need it, you look up, it gives you direction without exception. When you get lost, when you get confused, when you lack clarity, when you have big decisions that you need to make, all you got to do is look up. And that light will always provide direction for you, right? The more clear you define your vision, the clearer that light will be for you. It'll just make the process that much easier. No doubt life gets confusing. I mean, we've all had in our personal life stuff like, wow, wasn't planning on this, right? I got to make some big boy decisions right now, and I just don't know what to do, right? That's where your vision comes into play. Your mission's a little different. Your mission is the vessel that's going to carry you to your vision. So in the analogy of the lighthouse, the mission is the boat out on the open sea, right? That's carrying you along. It's how you're going to achieve your vision. So in our gym, I'll switch over and give you like an example in our gym. You know, our vision is very simple, right? I want to change the paradigms around the whole fitness, health, diet world. Now, I don't want it to be a diet or a fitness. I want it to be a lifestyle. That's why I call ourselves a lifestyle fitness center, where I get whole families in there working out. You come in next day, Pat, I want to work out. One of the first questions I ask you is, who's left at home, right? Because they should be here too. Shouldn't just be you, right? And this will make it much more successful. Our mission to achieving that is to provide an outstanding experience for every single client, every single time they come through our doors. Now, what that does, if they show up, they'll feel good. If they feel good, they'll come back. If they feel good and come back, they'll make a habit of. If they make a habit of showing up, I got them. I can influence them. I can change who they are, right? I know if everybody, we have 23 or 25 trainers in our gym, and every single one of them commits this one simple mission statement: provide an outstanding experience every single time every single client comes to our door. Bam, we will win this game, right? So the mission is how you achieve your vision. And again, the more clear it is, the less ambiguous it is, the easier it is to execute. Build it in your personal life first, then you carry it over and make sure your business is there to serve your personal life. So I'll sneak in a quick little story here. Yeah. My son asked me one day, so my son, who's 21 now, right, says he got out of high school. We're driving out to Breckenridge, Colorado. It was late July. It's 2 years ago, I think, or whatever. And this is after he turned down an invite to go wrestle at Plymouth College in New Hampshire. So I didn't want to go to school. He tells me kind of last minute, we visit the wrestling coach on a Friday, and that Saturday I could tell something's up with him. And I said, Dad, I don't want to go to school. I'm like, all right, well, at least you're telling me and not your mom. Good start. that was very strategic, son. What do you want to do? He goes, I just want to get out of here. To be honest with you, I don't feel like sitting in class right now. I'm feeling kind of confined. I just want to go. I'm like, you still got my ear. What else I'm like, all right, where do you want to go? He's like, well, I'm thinking we're going out to Breckenridge, Colorado. I'm like, that's interesting. He's never been there. Doesn't know anybody there. But a long story short, he's going out there with my best friend from high school's son. They've been kind of planning this. I'm like, all right, I'm good with all that. When you want to leave? Tuesday, 4 days later. Kid you not, right? Just give me the pretense of the story. So now picture us driving out to Breckenridge, Colorado, 32-hour drive. We chose to drive so I can leave him with a vehicle, right? And he wanted to do it all on his own dime too, which was kind of cool. But he asked me a very interesting question that kind of way out. He goes, Dad, how much is too much? Like, when is enough? When you think about that for a second, it's a deep question, right? And I thought about it because I knew that the words that came out of my mouth right now it's one of those pins that would be in his life, right? He wouldn't forget what's going to come next. I said, Patrick, I want you to hear what I say and then just let it sit in for a second, then we'll talk about it. I said, there is never enough. It's never too much. And I just let it sit. I go, so what does that mean to you? He goes, that sounds greedy. I said, yeah, I get it, but let me explain it to you. There's a simple formula that we have to live by, right? Be, do, have, right? We become more today so we can do more than we've ever done, so we can have more than we've ever had, right? He goes, yeah, well, what happens when you have enough? I said, well, you're missing the back end of the formula. The one part that people never talk about is the fourth part of it. Become more so you can do more, so you can have more, so that you can give more. Make a bigger impact while you're here. And I'll go one step further and say, you've been given God-given innate skills and talents, unique, special, unlike anyone else that's ever walked this face of the earth or ever will be. They're yours. And somebody put a lot of planning into it to make you that special. It's not a choice. It's a responsibility to become more every day. And if you choose to step into smaller shoes, you're disrespecting the giver of those gifts. So it's impossible to have too much. You have to always be creating so that once you're good, you can give back what's been given to you, right? That's a crazy way to look at it, but when you think about it, it obligates us to something to much bigger than ourselves, right? And that brings you on to the third part of the equation, because you have your lighthouse, where you're going, your vision, your mission, that's how you're going to get there, right? The third part is your purpose, right? The impact you're going to make along the way. And your purpose can also be loosely described as your why, right? And I break that into the kind of the two parts we're talking about, Nick. One, when you say, well, what's your why? It's your immediate family, right? Your wife, your kids, your spouse, whatever, right? And that's the general answer to what is your why. But there's another side, and no doubt that is your first priority, right? But I divide it into two. I have my priority and my greater responsibility. My priority is, yes, my wife and kids. My greater responsibility, though, is the impact that I'm going to make while I'm here.
Yeah.
If I play small, I play down, I live in fear, I play as a victim, I'm choosing, right, not to play that role, to almost disrespect all that I'm capable of. Does that all kind of make sense to you?
Absolutely, brother. You put it in a way easier, better way than I've ever heard this before.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, just even sharing with you kind of gives me chills. It resonates with me, you know. But where it helps me on a daily basis, and here's something that so some people get a little confused with sometimes. Like, you know, I have some people that think that I have it all together. I got it all figured out, right? Like sometimes there's days I got to wake up in the morning and at the top of my lungs, I got to scream to myself and sell me to me. Well, I even deserve to show up today. It ain't automatic. There's no like, oh, you have a certain level of success, so everything's just hunky-dory in your department. It doesn't work that way, right? There's days, man, I don't even want to take the pillow off my face. I don't want to face all the shit out here. And I got to talk myself up to even standing in the shoes I wore yesterday, knowing that those aren't good enough for today. That side's got to get bumped up a little. And it's a process sometimes, right? But you do it.
Yeah. Some people, wow, this is obviously unlike any podcast we've ever had here on the podcast. But let me ask you this then, Pat. If one question come back at you, some people might say that you become a master at that which you might have needed a master at. And if I could follow up with that saying, you've obviously become a master at this craft of learning human behavior, of literally the neurology behind it, and of communicating it effectively, which I think is one of those keys that not many people can actually do on that third level. Was there a time in your life, and you don't have to share personal stuff, but was there a time maybe where you needed all this? And that's where this all, like, how did this start? I mean, you're clearly good at this. This is clearly a mission for you and a purpose, but like, did you have any
The answer is hell yeah, and still need it, Nick, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know how to even, so the further we go, right, challenges don't go away, right? They get bigger. So the relationship between the size of the challenge and you never changes. I can tell you that. Even if you feel you're a much bigger person today than you were a year ago, well, so are your freaking problems, right? So are the expectations people have of you, right? And now you've got to wear a bigger space, you know? And I'm a big believer in the idea that God delivers to you challenges just past your current capabilities. He knows if you stay small, you're going to get crushed. But he challenges and gives you the opportunity to get sucked up into this greater space, right? And that's how I see it, which with that type of logic reminds me, though, that the challenges will never go away or get easier. What does get better, to put a bright light on this, right, is our ability to deal with it. Okay. It's really hard now to get really riled up, to say, right? to really get me to where I'm emotionally out of control, whether it be anxiety or stress or anger, right? I can stay very almost stoic when I have to. And the greater the challenge, the more level-headed I get. I calm right down. I get very laser focused, right? That part has been, and that's a skill that you learn, right? That falls in that space of emotional intelligence, the EQ, emotional quotient, right? The left two quarters of that are, self-awareness of your emotions and then management of your emotions. And a lot of us don't, are not aware of the idea that we come with default emotions. We think this out here creates the emotion in us, but in fact, we already have a set of default emotion. And a perfect example would be using like when our towers got bombed in 9/11 and all that, right? And I use that just because everybody can remember that so well. There was a number of different emotions that people broke down with. Some got very scared immediately. And their fear is their default emotion, right? And they kind of weighed down in fear. Others got very sad because sadness was their default emotion. Some got extremely angry because anger is their default emotion. Same circumstance, totally different emotions, which makes it clear that it's not out here happening. It's in here happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sure, while we're on this, I know we're bouncing all over the park. If you wanted to start practicing something today that can functionally and structurally change your lives, right? It'd be starting in this space. If you were to journal for 4 days, right? Your emotional states each day and what caused them each day, okay? Because this is what happens. Something out here happened. We respond in emotion. Would you agree that how you feel affects how you think?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you agree that how you think affects your decision-making?
100%. Yes.
Your decision-making affects the actions you take.
Yes.
And the actions you take, the results you get.
Agreed.
So you agree there's a direct connection then between how you feel and the results you get. Okay. Follow me in this, right? Most of us each day do nothing more than respond. And that's at 95% out of habit response, right? You're coming home from work, Nick, you're getting off the exit. There's a lot of traffic getting off the exit. Slow, it's taking you a long time. Right at the end, you're about to get off and some dude comes wheeling up and cuts right in front of you, right? Cuts you off.
That son of a bitch. No.
Yeah, you get aggravated. Triggers an emotion because you got this idea that he did it to you intentionally, like he knew you, right?
Yeah.
He should pay for it somehow. He can't get away with that. Granted, he gained 10 feet over you or whatever, right? All this stuff goes on. We get all pissed off, right? Well, guess what? You take that energy home, right? Because often we do. We walk into our house, and what do you think enters our house before us? All of that negative energy, like a freaking tsunami, right? And I know this. I've learned this through time in my own family, right? And those around us in close proximity, they feel us more than they'll hear us or watch our action. They feel the energy. So I'll get home. I let all this tsunami of bad energy roll into our house. It hits my wife. Bam, I say something in a bit of a tone because I'm already elevated. Then she responds in an elevated tone. Not even intentionally, but because of this energy that just overtook her, right? How do you think that night's going to go from that point on, right? Spirals out of control, right? So the exercise is identifying those emotions, right? And then what triggers them. Because the idea is to forget about the emotion. Remember, life doesn't happen to us. We happen to life, and stop letting it be the other way around. The idea here now is forget about it. Let's focus on desired results. See, this is the difference between us and all other mammals walking the face of this earth right now. They respond. They have no choice. They can't strategize. They can't plan. They can't do nothing but respond. And their animal habits to survive of food and sex and things like that. That's all they can do. That's all they run on, right? The one thing we can do that they can't do is when that emotion is triggered, we can stop, right? Because it goes emotion, thought. We can stop before the thought goes to a decision, and we can think about what we're thinking about. And in that moment of time, we're given a new choice. Do we want to continue with the negative thought? the negative decision, the negative action, negative result? Or do we want to pick a desired outcome and choose the thought that serves that outcome?
There we go. You flip
And boom, in a moment, we change. Something different has happened. Now go all the way back to where we started this discussion about, we know we want something. We know how to do it, when to do it. We know it's good for us. We still don't do it. We think about getting up the next morning. We got up the first morning. We think about getting up the next morning, go to the gym, and an emotion overwhelms us. It's cold out. If I only could sleep a little long, all this stuff, right? That's the time we've got to make change. We've got to stop. Think about what we're thinking about. Do we want to continue to be the person who says they're going to do it and doesn't? Or do we want to start recharacterizing ourselves to being the person who shows up? You pick a new outcome, and now you make the decision. Different thought, different decision, different action, different result. And then repeat, and then repeat, and then repeat. So the exercise starts with, for 4 days straight, just take a little short journal like this. And 3 hours blocked throughout the day. 3 hours is enough time to recall what happened. Write down the emotions that you've experienced over the last 3 hours and what caused them, right? Because emotional intelligence starts with awareness. Then we go on to manage, because once we know what caused them, now we can identify the good ones and the circumstance that create them, but the bad ones and the circumstance that create them. And we can start either, if there's circumstances that are outside of our control, many are, right? You may have a family member, for example, that triggers you, right? Well, you can't kick them out and you can't kill them. So you're stuck with them. You say, what do you do next, right? Well, you can change the relationship between the trigger and the emotion. Just like I was talking about with that person who cut you off. Instead of being a victim, letting them piss you off, maybe even you doing something stupid, right? Like tailgating them or something like that. What if you change the relationship between, they cut you off, and immediately you realize you are the luckiest person in the world, because they could have hit you, but they didn't. They missed you. No one's luckier than you. You're going to make it home. You're going to have everything you deserve tonight at the highest level. You turn up the radio, you roll down the window, you start singing your favorite song, right? You build up a little energy. Now you roll that energy into the house. How's that night going to roll out? Right?
Awesome. Yeah.
That powerful, dude. That powerful. And the idea of journaling just brings an awareness around the emotions of that 95% that are controlling our life. That's all. Instead of trying to fight over the 5%, let's get into the meat where we get some control and start creating real change in our lives. Does that kind of make sense? Was that simple?
It totally makes sense. And journaling for sure is the way to do, just like you said, to be aware, to be knowledgeable of what's actually going on up there on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and that's key, to bring a conscious awareness around it, right? So eventually, and this is the learning cycle goes from an unconscious incompetence, you don't know what you're doing wrong, to a conscious incompetence, to finally an unconscious competence. So we don't have to think about doing it right. And that's the idea of repeat, 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 repeat. And then at that point, it's officially a habit. And like I said, our habits are what define our personal reality, which define our personality. That's how they're all glued together, man.
To be fair, Pat, I've only ever chased down people tailgated 10% of the time that they've cut me off. So to be fair.
Dude, I bring that example up because I used to let it rile the crap out of me.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, just bring it up now. It still would rile, but this is a trigger. You just helped me set a different tone here. This is good.
Here's the funny thing about it, and somebody pointed this out to me. He goes, you know what, Pat, when you get to the bottom of that exit, they go right, you go left. They don't even know that you're riled up. They ain't thinking about you. Yeah, you're letting them own you. Yeah. Own you. I'm like, ouch. Point taken.
Why do you give them the energy, right? Don't give them any more of yourself than you need to.
Yeah.
Jeez, Pat, this has been beyond. This has been exactly what my listeners, my audience, you guys hear me say it all the time, talking to my listeners here. Pat has a way of saying things where, even I've never said them at all. I mean, as far as knowing your purpose, knowing your mission, what are those three? Do them again. We got vision.
The lighthouse is the vision. How you're going to get there is your mission. That's the boat that's going to get you there. And then your purpose. That's your why. That's the impact you're going to make. That's the fuel for your vessel, right? That's as the seas get rough, man. That's where your juice comes from, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's exactly why we named this the Shut Up and Do It podcast, because of Pat Precourt. So, man, is there anything that you've got that you're excited about? Is there ways people can plug in with you? Like,
I do a bunch of different stuff, and I'm easy to find on Facebook, right? Just Patrick Precourt. You'll find me or my son. He's a little more boring than I am, but hey, he's a good dude. And if you know,
Colorado?
my website, what's that?
Is he still out in Colorado?
No, he's back here now. And I said it jokingly because he's 21 years old, and he's actually become an amazing martial artist himself. The dude will run me right now. I kid you not. You know? Yeah, it is what it is, you know. But yeah, if anybody just wants more, just plug in more, just go to my website, patrickprecourt.com. And it's just like it sounds, Patrick, and then precourt.com. There's even a really cool download there, my Live Big ebook. It just breaks down some neat fundamentals of how to just live a little bigger each day. It's kind of cool.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. As a shout out too, I think he's one of the first national guys we have that's based on the Northeast, based in good old Connecticut. Everybody else is in Florida, Dallas, California. Right. We've got Connecticut and Massachusetts representing here, so that's awesome. Pat, I can't thank you enough for being on today, man. And if you're cool with it, maybe, another 10 or 11 months or so, we could try to schedule another one for the listeners. But this was,
man. As you probably imagine, I could talk this stuff all day long. So absolutely, man.
That's awesome. Well, guys, thanks everyone so much for listening today. I mean, Pat really, really, really brought it. You'll check his link out. We're going to put that in the notes down below, and definitely connect with him. You offer coaching that you're allowed to plug here, brother. You want to do coaching, or
so everything from one-on-one coaching, particularly. So my clients are generally, as you might guess, entrepreneurs, right? That know there's more in life, right? And they're unwilling to settle for what they got right now. Like one of my qualifying questions when I work with people, I always ask them, hey, Nick, I got to ask you this question, man. How much longer are you going to continue to choose to accept your current results and outcomes? And that's just one of those, that by the way, was created as my own personal mind hack when I'm met with resistance and I'm kind of not doing my part to do something about it, playing a little bit of the self-pity victim space, right? I ask myself that question. How much longer are you going to choose to accept these current results and outcomes? Because both those are accurate statements, right? When you share that with yourself, man, it snaps you right out of it. But yeah, I work with entrepreneurs as it relates to personal development and business growth. And we do it on one-on-one. We also do it in a really neat group format, which it's more of a tribe format that's got a very, very high level of accountability aspect to it, and then tribe support. Really, really neat stuff. So anybody interested, just reach out to me. And the way we do it is you and I sit on the phone, just have a conversation, see where you're at, where you want to be, and whether or not we're really a good fit for each other. So it's real non-salesy kind of discussion, just like we're talking here.
Awesome. That's fabulous. This is one of those podcasts I'm going to be watching about 10 times in the next 6 months. So for all of the listeners out there, guys, thanks for taking part in another episode of the Shut Up and Do It podcast. I know you found value today. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Please share this around, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Pat, for being on.
Thanks for having me on, man.